Welcome to C's Backstage. This is your all-access pass to everything you need to know to design, produce, and inspire your next event. I'm your host, Troy Peters, C's very own Chief Experience Officer, here to guide you through the world of live event production. Remember to subscribe to the podcast at cspro.com/backstage or wherever you get your favorite podcasts so you too can be backstage. On today's podcast, we have Carolyn Stern in the studio, CEO, keynote speaker, trainer, author, professor. What don't you do? And she's here, and we're so glad to have you. You're here. You rented out our studio space that we have here in our building to practice and perfect your brand new keynote talk, The Emotionally Strong Leader. We're going to talk about the process of how you worked with us, our history, and how you worked with our creative team. But really grateful to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. You asked me, what don't I do? I don't cook. I don't cook.
All right, well, I got you there. That is my zen. My zen is cooking. So as much as we would love to just listen to you speak and on the value and impact of emotional intelligence, which is you're the expert at, we're going to talk more about the journey of how we got here, which is obviously a production podcast talking about AV and live events and how we got you here and how we worked with you to perfect your onstage experience and the experience for the attendees, which is the goal. Always having these attendee experiences that are second to none. So let's talk a little bit about our history and how we got to where we're about to produce this amazing conference in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, which is really exciting.
So how did, just remind or share with the audience how we met. It was in Arizona many years ago, 10 years ago, I think.
Was it 10? Okay. Yeah. So 10 years ago, we met at a conference. I was speaking at, I was talking about branding, and which is way before, I was talking about branding, although I did emotional intelligence back then, but the talk that your group had booked me for was branding. And we just hit it off. We had this natural connection to each other. I think a few years later, it
helped because we were both from Vancouver, Canada originally.
That's right.
So,
yeah. Here, Canadians.
That connection.
The connects. Whoa. But then years later, you had come up. We'd stayed in touch all these years when we met at that networking event, and then years later, you had helped. I had needed some video production work done, and you, out of the goodness of your heart, I was a solopreneur, didn't have a lot of cash back then, and you kind of were giving me some tips and directions on how to be on camera. Because as a trainer, I've been, as you said, I'm a university professor, 25 years doing that. As a trainer, I've been running my company for 17 years. It's very different, and we just talked about this, to be on camera than it is to, be in front of a live audience.
Right.
And so I just didn't know how to move, and you kind of helped me through that. Still stayed connected, you in Arizona, me in Vancouver. Then you moved up here or moved to C's production. And I realized, I thought, Troy's doing all these huge events, which is what my business, as soon as the book came out, The Emotionally Strong Leader, which was in 2022, I started to see that my thought leadership was rising. I was no longer just a corporate trainer or a university professor. People were reaching out to me to be a keynote. Now, I've done keynote speaking, for 20 years. But I started to go to more events. I started to see more keynotes, and I thought, I need to up my game. Yeah. And I thought you came into my mind thinking, who do I know in the industry that's doing these kinds of events regularly? So I reached out to you and said, what does it take? How can I sort of elevate my game? And we had started having conversations. And so we decided to get into this relationship that, yes, I was going to book your studio space, do some B-roll footage, film myself on stage, do a live event and video record it. And we were going to do that back in November. And
4 months ago.
And then I realized I'm not ready.
Yep.
I'm not ready as much as I've done. And by the way, The Emotionally Strong Leader is a keynote I have already done several times, many times, probably hundreds. But I realized I wanted to revamp the keynote.
Yep.
And I wanted to up my game. And Go ahead.
And I think that, sort of just quickly looking back at when we met 10 years ago and where we were both at in our paths, right? Like we were good at what we did, but we were just on the cusp of, I think I was doing like a lot of like statewide events and a lot of work with the university and that sort of thing. But then right after that, about that time, I started doing events for the Clinton Foundation. I was a project manager for the Super Bowl. I was doing all of a sudden these very high level events. So I think it was just a natural progression as you sort of evolved your career forward, and we were kind of keeping in touch. And it's like, oh, that's cool. When you'd post something on social media, I'd be like, wow, amazing, Carolyn, good job. And you'd do the same. And it just kind of evolved into this like, Troy, I see that you've moved to this company in California and you're kind of leading their marketing and creative and sales teams. And I would still love to get up on a main stage and have somebody give me some insight. And so that's where we taught. That's where we kind of picked it up. And we're like, well, I did just join this great company that has a studio space, that has a stage in the building that we can customize to build whatever we want. And that would give you the opportunity to do what we do in the big ballrooms where we've got 6,000, 10,000 people in an audience. We're designing these massive LED walls or projection mapping in an event space. But you get to do it yourself. So imagine having this, 40,000 square foot ballroom, but you get to play in it for 3 or 4 days, which is kind of what we're doing here.
That's right. And so I think the problem is, as a trainer, as a speaker, we do our PowerPoints, right? That's what we know. That's the creative, the visual aid we put on the screen behind us to support our training.
And that's so different from being a true keynote. Like think about a TED Talk where you really don't get slides. You got to speak from the heart. And so to watch you this week and the evolution of you taking this talk and making it from the heart and working with our team and some and your team to really kind of just hone that message.
That's right.
It's been amazing to watch and be a part of. Like everybody in the building has been like every day. We're so blessed to have Carolyn here to work on making us even better and getting those, even just the nuggets we get from your talk of like being just recognizing your own emotions and whatnot, but really helping you step through all the production elements and the creative journey that this has become.
Yeah. And I guess what I would say, if I could tell your listeners, is that if you want bigger, you got to think bigger. Yeah. And so you were the one person in my journey, as I am in ballrooms, I do speak in ballrooms. I had never had a connection. When I work with the AV team at the back, when I'm in these ballrooms, I give them my slide deck or I give them my PowerPoint, and then I hope to heck they will do as I want them to do. Yep. And I've never built that relationship. You were the one person in my life that I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And so we started talking about, if I want to elevate my game, if I want to get on a stage that Bill Clinton was speaking at, or if I want to be as big as the Super Bowl, what do I need to do that? And so we were originally going to do it in November. And I pulled the plug and I said, you know what? I'm not ready. Because what I didn't have is the story. I didn't have the script. And although me and my team churn out training programs, like I can build curriculum as easy as I can breathe. Like it is easy for me. But a keynote is a production. It is a story that you take the audience through. And I speak on emotional intelligence, so it's got to be an emotional journey. And I just realized that as much as I've been doing this for 20 years and 25 years as a teacher, I needed to build the story. So I said, you know what? I'm not ready. Can we put a pin in it and let's wait? And so 3 months later, now we're in February, we have our script. What we did is we worked with a keynote writer. Then we worked with a keynote director. And then when I came to you, and what's interesting about this event that we're running tomorrow is that you and I have really, with your team, have only had a few weeks to put this together. Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, if I had the story earlier, had the script earlier, we could have probably... I know how... I'm so excited for your audience to see this.
I'm so excited too.
Right, to see it. But we did this in like 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. And I can only imagine if more keynote speakers worked with companies like yours for a month and could really just like fine tune all the little nuances of every little thing that goes into a production. Because it really is a one-woman show. I'm up there for 60 minutes. I've got to entertain. I've got to inspire. I've got to pull on people's heartstrings. I've got to take them on a journey. Yeah. And so when I came with you with the script, you were so excited. I remember you were like, wow, this is so great. Because now your creative team, Tyler, Julie, who have been awesome. Yep. Big shout out to Tyler and Julie, could see our vision. And then what I love about what we've created as a team is I had my designer in Vancouver work with Tyler and Julie. I had my team, Kieran, who's been my program manager, who's been working with your team. And we've just had such a collaborative project. Normally when you get a bunch of creatives together, some egos can get bruised. Everyone's just been so open to feedback. Totally. Everyone's been like, oh my God, you can help me here. There's your genius. How can I tap into that genius and help each other? And just even watch Julie and Tyler in your own studio working together, helping each other. Like, that's to me what emotional intelligence is all about. Yeah. Figuring out what everyone's strengths and development opportunities are, and figuring out the best ways to collaborate to have a really good connection.
Yeah, it takes the village, right?
That's
it takes
right.
all of us.
That's right.
And being able to be in a village where everybody can step into each other's roles and help each other out, and there is no ego is I think second to none. Yeah. So thinking about that sort of journey, so we are, we sort of, I think when the original reach out, it was like, okay, it would be great. We can record you up in front of our screens and we can design this event and everything. But to really, as any professional speaker knows, your best self is in front of an audience. So it's one thing to put you in front of cameras. So we're like, well, that's one thing we could do. But you know what we've always wanted to do at Seas is be a thought leader. That's why we started the podcast. We wanted to share the secret sauce. As our CEO, Zach, always says, we want people to know how to do what we do so we can work with them better. And this opportunity, I'm like, okay, so how do we really capture the essence of Carolyn when she's on stage? We need to bring in an audience. Yeah. And then for me, when I started out in this business, I started out in motion picture production, but then switched over to live events around 2007, so about 15 years ago. And I was enraptured right away. I loved the attendees and I loved the working to help design and craft a conference. I was one of the event planners, doing a big, large 12 events a year all over the world. And I just knew that at some point when people started asking me to speak on event technology and things, and I was like, there's no way I'm getting up on stage. I'm petrified of public speaking. I embraced it. I asked them to provide a mentor for me. This is back in 2010. And then I was like, this is amazing. When I saw people in the audience having those aha moments and then I fed off that, it changed who I was in such a profound way, to the point now where that's all I want to do, but I need to have a job. So I would just love to give and give and give back as you do. So realizing we needed to put you in front of an audience, we came up with the idea of like, well, you know what? I think we're scheduling this for the last week of February. Happens to be a leap year. So we can market this as though it's, hey, everybody's had an extra day this year. Come to our conference. Love it. And so we designed this conference called the LEAP Conference. We sort of reverse engineered it and said, well, what could LEAP stand for? And we're like live events and production. Love it. Carolyn speaking leadership and event production. Carolyn speaks on leadership and we speak on production. So we're going to have this with a breakout and reception and a trade show. That's right.
We are LEAP, man,
everything,
together.
Right? So the LEAP conference will happen tomorrow. Well, by the time people hear this, it'll have happened a week ago. Yeah. But it really was this amazing way of bringing everything together in such a good, positive way. Yes. And just being able to work with each other and push us a little bit, right? We've always wanted to open a creative department. We've had that kind of in the background where we've edited videos, but you really pushed Julie and Tyler and me and our whole company to really just get better at what we do. And seeing the content and seeing what the guys have put together with you. I can't
wait for everyone to see it. I think that the thing is, graphic design is beautiful, but you are the experts at what it looks like on stage. Like
it's different from the book to what you put up on a 40-foot wide screen.
That's right. It's different. A book versus a PowerPoint versus, as you said, a 40 how big?
40-foot wide screen.
40-foot
Yeah.
wide screen, right? That's different. And then I didn't even think, what are the side panels going to look like?
Yeah.
What's the music when I come in?
Yep.
What
How
what
do
is
we
the-
announce you when
How
you
do
walk
you
in the
announce me?
room?
What does the lighting look like? All of those things make people feel things.
Yeah.
When you turn the lights off, when you turn the lights on, all the side light, our branding colors are red, black, white, gray. How can I fill the room
Yep.
with that? And emotions, when you think of colors,
Yeah.
colors bring a lot of emotions. Like, why is McDonald's yellow and red? Because
Right.
they want you in and out. I mean, I purposely named the book The Emotionally Strong Leader is to make people realize you can be emotional, which means all that means is you feel things deeply and strong. They're not mutually exclusive. And why the book is red and why our branding is red is when I think of emotion, I think heart.
Right.
And what's the
blood
what's the
temperature, yeah.
not the color of our true heart, but the color of when you think of love, and which is kind of funny. February, the month of love, right, is red, and so it just looks so powerful on that 44-inch screen, LED screen. Like, this is not just a slide, because I'm used
huge, yeah.
to like pulling down the screen at university and
Sure.
projecting my PowerPoint. It looks incredible,
Yeah.
and I can't wait for the people to see some backstage images of the event. That's where I thought there was such a synergy in our partnership, is because I know about leadership and emotional intelligence, and about event production. Why not put the two together?
And the last kind of piece of this is that, the other things that we want to share and that we want to share with our audience is the thing that we're working through now, sort of you and I directly, now that we've kind of got everything done for the conference. There's still a lot to do before tomorrow, but is for example, just having a speaker writer that speaks properly to an AV production company, so that when you show up backstage, so we'll work on these conferences where we're, the main stage is running for maybe 4 or 5 days in a row. And there's speaker after speaker. There's a morning keynote, a lunch keynote, an afternoon, and an evening keynote, right?
Yep.
Always. And so you've got all these different speakers that are taking the stage. And the ones that come in or that have sent a rider beforehand saying, this is the kind of microphone I want. Here's my slide deck. Do you have any issues with me using my own laptop? If you're not, this is how I'm going to present it to you. All those things, and having that information, what kind of water you want on, like there's
That's
some
right.
keynote speakers that want sparkling water.
That's
so
right.
put that in your rider.
That's
so that's
right.
the next thing we'll kind of hash out, but really
Yes.
kind of working with having an opportunity to work like on this level
Yes.
is teaching us how to work better with keynote speakers.
And is teaching me how to work better
Yeah.
with production companies.
And if you show up backstage and you've got all your ducks in a row, they're going to love you.
Well,
they're
that's
going to
it.
take good care of you.
And so a couple of things that I realized, like after doing so many keynote presentations, I can wear a lavalier mic, but with my hair, it always gets in it. So I much prefer a headset. So to put that in my rider,
Yep.
or to say that, I'm going to have my own videographer come in, or my own photographer come in, so that I can have those creative assets that I can build on my social media when I do an event. If I have to put that in my rider, they need passes to go into the events. These are the things that you don't, again, when you're home building a training program, these are the things I'm not thinking about, right?
Yeah.
What is my preferred? Is it sparkling water? Is it still?
Yeah.
These are the things that just calm you down. And the other thing that I want to say to all the listeners is, have a cue sheet, like you said. Literally tell the people before, the AV
Your
team,
script and your
here's my slides, here's
and
what I'm
see
going to
when we're
say, this
advancing.
is when the video's going to come on, this is when the music needs to get louder, this is when, you dim the lights. Letting them know, because again, it's a team effort. Like you said, it takes a village. To make this one woman show, even though I'm the person on the front facing, there's a whole team behind me that's made this story come to light. And I think that's been the biggest learning, and specifically with your team, to see all of the technical behind the scenes, and which we're going to take tons of footage, and I'll share that on my socials, as you will with yours, of what goes into not only an event, planning an event and speaking at an event, but all the preparation prior and post event of what goes into these things. I think that's a whole business in itself.
Yeah, it is. That's what we do.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. So let's share a little bit about what you do. obviously you're perfecting your keynote speak. I personally think it's already perfect. You've done a really good job with the team here this week.
Thank you.
But you're really you've got this great new talk. You're giving it for a large Canadian organization coming up very soon.
Yes.
But what if I'm an event planner and I mean, emotional intelligence is such a hot topic right now.
Yes.
How do they get in touch with you? What do I need to know if I'm somebody who's like, I want to reach out to Carolyn, see if she'll speak to my group?
I think the reason my book, The Emotionally Strong Leader, and my talk has become so popular, I mean, emotional intelligence has been around since the 1990s, right? This is not a new topic. I think once the pandemic hit and everyone's emotions erupted, right? We were scared about our safety. We were scared about losing our jobs, losing our lives, missing out on toilet paper, right? Like these are the things people started stressing about. And when stress goes up, empathy goes down. As someone who's been teaching in university for 25 years, I see that we focus so much on IQ and not nearly enough on EQ, which is our emotional quotient, which is the measurement that measures emotional intelligence. We spend so much time on the reading, writing, and arithmetic, and not enough time on social skills, not enough time on impulse control, not enough time on teaching people how to set better boundaries or have confidence in themselves or rebound quickly from setbacks. And so what I could see is we're unfortunately graduating these students, sending them to the office, and then it becomes the leader's responsibility. Well, when COVID hit, I'm a small business, right? Woman-owned. And the phones were ringing off the hook. And I was shocked because, why is the Royal Bank of Canada calling me? Why is the University of Chicago Medicine calling me? Why is PayPal calling me?
Right.
Because they realize that their leaders are ill-equipped to deal with not only the leader's emotions, but the employee's emotions, because their leaders don't know how to tend to it. And so what we have noticed is everything that's plaguing the modern workforce is because we're not teaching it in schools. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to do, and what the Emotionally Strong Leader book is about, and what and our emotionally strong leadership, concept,
audience.
Right?
Yep.
Being emotionally strong. All that means is that you need to recognize how you're feeling, understand where that feeling comes from. What triggered me? Why am I upset? Regulate. Okay, pause, take a moment, take a beat, take a breath, reset, calm myself down, gain perspective, restore my emotional balance, and then respond in a respectful and professional way. If more and more people did that in the office, we'd have fewer and fewer problems. Mm-hmm. But what's happening is people aren't doing that.
Right.
They would have 1 in 10 people would rather quit their job than have a one-on-one difficult conversation with people. That's alarming. Yep. And then when you look at Gallup and they say that only 33% of your employees are actually engaged at work, and either the rest of them are either disengaged or actually disengaged, that's a big problem, which is costing globally $8.8 trillion US dollars. And so we need to start teaching this in schools. We need to start graduating these kids with these skills so that we can solve the problems that are happening in the workplace. Because if I'm not teaching you how to be confident in yourself, how to control your impulses in school, how to not take on the lion's share of the work, if I'm not teaching you those skills, well, guess what? Then you bring those same problems into the workplace. Yep. You're not going to have confidence in your job. You're not going to be able to collaborate effectively because you're going to take on the lion's share. So these are the skills that we're noticing. So what the Emotionally Strong Leader book is all about, and why it's been such a craze, is because people realize we're ill-equipped to handle emotions at work. Yeah. And what this book teaches you is you don't have to be afraid of emotions. They're just feelings. They come and go. They're like clouds. They're incredibly painful, and they hurt like hell at the most inopportune time. But they're transient. Mm-hmm. And you can be bigger and stronger than your emotions, which is why the book is called Emotionally Strong. They're not mutually exclusive. And so how people can get in touch with us is reach out to me on carolynstern.com. We have tons of keynotes and workshops that we run. I hope that your audience tomorrow, and I hope the people listening to this will enjoy what we've talked about today, but also hope that it's got people thinking about their relationship with emotions. You know, what were the myths that I was told? You know, are negative emotions bad? Do I believe that myth?
Right.
Do I think being emotional is unprofessional? Do I think sharing emotion is a sign of weakness? If you do, you need to debunk some of those myths.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been told to be less emotional. And every time I do that, I don't do as well in business. When I wear my heart on my sleeve, when I communicate with my team that, you know, I'm having a bad day and this is why. Just need everybody to understand we're going to get through this. And as soon as you do those things, it opens it up and you're moving things forward rather than hiding behind things. And it's so important. We need to get a conference where you could speak to all our political leaders.
Yes.
That would be the first place I'd love to get you.
Absolutely.
But I can't wait to see you and continue on this journey with you as you continue to just improve and bring the message out there. So
Thank you. Thank
we
you.
get you on one of our big stages.
I can't wait.
Well, thank you again, Carolyn Stern, for taking the time to visit with us and help us produce this amazing LEAP conference. Again, this has been C's Backstage, your all-access pass to everything you need to know to design, produce, and inspire your next event. Set those reminders. Go to cspro.com/backstage or wherever you find your favorite podcast and stay in the know. Again, thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thanks, Troy, for having me. I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow, and I'm excited to see how this collaboration can continue after.
Yeah. Just so you know, C's Productions now has a wonderful and very, very good creative department.
Oh, I can't wait for everyone to see what
gonna be
Tyler and
amazing.
Julie and you have all
Going
created.
to be amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Okay.
Peace out.